Okay, before I forget, well, since I don't really be uploading videos as much as I claim I'm gonna try to, I wanted to add to the last video, but so long-winded sometimes I don't even realize how long I'm talking, so I'm not gonna add to that. But two things: white genocide and white racism and their ignorance to it. Whenever it comes to us speaking on our genocide, they always want to mention the Irish or the Jews, the Holocaust, and everything like that, without mentioning that the same people responsible for ours were also responsible for theirs. Europeans. But they ignore that. People mention white genocide a lot lately as if it's some kind of thing, which to them, genocide to white people is simply being around us and letting their women do what they do best more than anybody else, white women, procreate outside of the race. They do that more than anybody else. Can't blame them. But, well, I guess I couldn't blame their men for doing that too. But anywho, that's why back during slavery, whenever a white woman had a black child, she was a slave for 7 years, not indentured servant. She was actually in the slave records. Those are the only white people I've ever seen to this day in slave records, white women who had black children. And then the child stayed there after the 7 years as property. But when it comes to the destruction or the death or the eventual death of the white race, if you look at the numbers, statistics, that has to do with them being at a negative birth rate. That's their own body. That's white people to blame. Suicide, again, death by a white person's hands. That's y'all. And heroin overdose. I do not believe in blaming addicts for their addictions or their inability to stop. Everybody has their own addictions, be it booze, Jesus, dope of every kind, a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things, but that's neither here nor there. But the people who brought in all of the dope, I'm a combat vet. I was in Afghanistan, and that is where we have been for a very long time. I was there, it's been over 12 years ago I went. So we've been there for a long time. The U.S. has their way of doing this. They go and sit in people's countries and they never leave. And then the people around, their education, their circumstances, their finances, everything just plummets down. But that, whenever I went, all we seen was poppy. And since we've been there, there's been a huge spike in heroin overdose. And again, that's on white folks' hands. White supremacy, this country, so to each their own. And another thing is the racists who are unaware of their racism. People who mention black on black crime, racist as fuck. If you don't have white on white crime in your vernacular and you don't have the same numbers that you go and look for with black folks, you damn sure are racist. When you hear and see one of us called a nigger, like my former white friends that I decided were no friends of mine, y'all say they're just ignorant, forget about them, ignore it, whatever. And occasionally you'll say something to them about being ignorant. When people like me piss you off, you say, I, me, solely, Ray, is responsible for why racism has not gone away and why it still exists. Putting every single black person in one boat that is to blame for my issues or my words or my actions, which is black on black crime to a T. You are a racist if you have ever told a person of color, any color, that they're upsetting you is why racism still exists, because it's a whole fucking system, you dumb racist bitch.